So originally I had planned to make like this big video of my top 10 best films of the year that was gonna look like an award show, but I got sick and then I lost time. So originally this video was gonna come out before the end of the year, but it is January 5th as of recording this video. So I'm pretty late, so instead I'm just gonna be doing a sort of regular styled video. Well, it's finally here. The end of the year, a time where most people spend time with their friends or family, but losers like us discuss films that came out this year. And what an interesting year for film it's been. Not one, but two smaller budget films, Everything Everywhere All at Once and Barbarian, got a ton of attention and money, showing Hollywood that audiences don't just care about IP. Sony released Morbius, which bombed, and then the meme spread, so then they re-released it, where it bombed again, and to make money back, they re-released Spider-Man No Way Home, which also bombed. Top Gun Maverick proved to be one of the most impressive legacy sequels of all time by taking the mess of a film, Top Gun, and turning it into something that's pretty great. And after over a decade of waiting and much debate about whether or not this film will even happen, we got Avatar: The Way of Water. We also got what is easily the worst year for the MCU of all time, with flop after flop after flop after flop after flop. Not you, after flop. But we're not here to just discuss cinematic achievements. We're here to talk about the greatest films of the year. My top 10 favorite films of the year, to be exact. Now, before I begin, I'd like to mention that I obviously haven't seen every movie that came out this year. And there are some films that I missed out on that probably would have made the list, like Bones and All, Triangle of Sadness, After Sun, The Whale, and RRR. Also, Babylon was a film that I was extremely excited for, but like I said before, I got sick and wasn't able to see it. So if I watch it and it ends up being one of my favorite films of the year, I will add it to the comments. With all of that being said, let us begin.
And tomorrow? Man, not my house! Shut up!
At number 10, we have Barbarian, written and directed by Zach Cregger. I remember going to see Barbarian in theaters and, like most people, knowing absolutely nothing about it, and it was by far the best blind experience of the year. The film has this perfect mixture of horror and comedy that would remind you of Sam Raimi films like Evil Dead and Drag Me to Hell. And all of the actors are doing a great job here, with Justin Long being the best of the three lead actors, as well as playing the best written character in the film. This film goes on so many twists and turns that at a certain point you just go with the flow and have a blast along with the film. This film also continues the trend of comedians turned directors, with this trend starting off with Jordan Peele, then John Krasinski, and now Zach Cregger. And I'm really excited to see what Zach Cregger does next. Barbarian is available to watch on HBO Max.
Cha-cha real smooth. Let's go to work.
At number 9, we have Cha-Cha Real Smooth, written, directed, and starring Cooper Raif. Cha-Cha Real Smooth is Raif's sophomore film, and I have to say that he is definitely going to be one of the best filmmakers of our time. He has such a beautiful way of telling stories in such a real and vulnerable way that still manages to be funny. Cooper Raif and his co-star Dakota Johnson both do a great job here as they play characters at different points in their lives. Raif's character, Andrew, is a young man fresh out of college just getting into adulthood, while Johnson's character, Domino, has been living as an adult for some time now with a daughter and everything, yet they both learn to grow up in different ways. It's a very good film that plays with the rom-com tropes while bringing in actual artistic merit. Cha-Cha Real Smooth is available to watch on Apple TV+. At number 8, we have Free Chol So Lee, directed by Eugene Yi and Julie Ha. Free Chol So Lee is a documentary about a Korean immigrant who was wrongly accused of murder and the process it took to get him out of prison. Chol So Lee lived a very hard life. He lived through the Korean War, his father died, and his mother abandoned him. He was in extreme poverty while in Korea, and when his mother came back to move him to America, she was abusive. And on top of all of that, he's wrongly imprisoned for murder. This film could have easily painted Chol So Lee as some sort of superhero, and although they paint him as a good man, they're not afraid to show his downfall and redemption, which I really appreciated. The documentary was also well edited and didn't rely heavily on interviews, but instead used archive footage when it could. It's a very interesting and heartbreaking true story about the way that the system was discriminatory against this man and his people. Free Chol So Lee is available to watch on Moody.
Welcome, futurists, cyberphiles, and the rest of you dateless wonders.
At number 7, we have Funny Pages, written and directed by Owen Klein. Funny Pages is a directorial debut from Owen Klein, and he did such a tremendous job. This film is really funny, but it also has a lot of meaning to it, as the lead character is trying to pursue a career of being a comic book illustrator, and this leads him to push his friends and family out of the way and making his life miserable. Funny Pages takes the pursue your dreams no matter what story and twists it around by showing the negative consequences that bring. The main character is also extremely unlikable, which I know will deter many people, but I think that if you have any sort of passion, whether that be comics, film, or music, you'll probably know someone like this character. The best part about this film is Matthew Maher, who gave a really hilarious and memorable performance. Almost everything he said was funny to me, with his line delivery being absolutely perfect. Funny Pages isn't available on any streaming services that I know of, but it is available to buy or rent. At number 6, we have The Northman, written and directed by Robert Eggers. Northman was one of my most anticipated films of the year, and it did not disappoint. The action, Taylor-Joy, Claus Bang, and Nicole Kidman were all fantastic and entertaining to watch. And the score was very unique and complemented the film so well, and made things seem grand and mystical. But the best part of the film was to see the Viking culture and their traditions in the perspective of a fantasy world. And the way the film tackles vengeance is very unique, and by the end of the film, you'll be left in awe of what you've seen. And the final battle is just so beautiful and epic in every sense of the word. The entire film is just shot in such a beautiful way that I can't even describe it. Robert Eggers has such an amazing visual translation to screen. Robert Eggers is by far one of the best filmmakers working today, and he hasn't missed yet. The Northman is available to watch on Prime Video. At number 5, we have The Batman, directed by Matt Reeves. The Batman was my most anticipated film of the year, and it not only met, but exceeded my expectations. Robert Pattinson is hands down the best live-action Batman, and his performance combined with the amazing character writing led to one of the most memorable performances of the year. Gotham has never looked more comic booky and real, combining the gothic nature of Tim Burton's films and the realism of the Nolan films. I seriously cannot think of a bad performance in this film, but Paul Dano's next to Pattinson in terms of his performance. Paul Dano's Riddler is easily one of the best Batman villains ever put to screen, and what his character does to progress Batman's arc is really great. This is the first Batman film in a while that truly focused on Batman as a character and not the villains, which makes this one of the definitive Batman films. Also, out of all the films on this list, this one definitely impacted me the most because I've been thinking about this film ever since I saw it. Matt Reeves has not only made one of the best Batman movies of all time, but one of the best comic book movies of all time. The Batman is available to watch on HBO Max.
Let's go rescue your silly raccoon.
At number 4, we have Everything Everywhere All at Once, written and directed by the Daniels. I remember at the beginning of the year, I was looking through movies that were going to come out, and I saw this without even expecting the massive impact that it would make. This film deserves all of the praise that it gets, and this film was up to the name. And you may think that a film as crazy as this would be all over the place, and although it is, it works. But despite everything that happens, the film focuses on the characters who are very enduring. You cannot talk about this film without talking about Ke Huy Quan as Waymond. He gives this film so much heart, and he's just so wholesome. I absolutely love his character. But Michelle Yeoh and Stephanie Hsu were also great and had an amazing mother-daughter dynamic, and where they end up near the end is just so endearing and emotional. So crazy that a movie like this can be that good, yet here we are. Everything Everywhere All at Once isn't available on any streaming services that I know of, but it is available to rent or buy.
It's enough to make a grown man cry.
At number 3, we have Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, directed by Dean Fleischer Camp. This film is by far one of the most wholesome films ever made. Much like Marcel himself, this film is very vulnerable, adventurous, and just kind-natured. Marcel is such a cute character, and his dynamic with Dean and Nana Connie was so endearing and fun to watch. I'm going to say it. I cried during this movie, and although that may not sound like a great feat, it really is because I never cry during movies. This film just has a way of slipping into your heart and making you feel all warm and fuzzy. I would say the way that this film makes you feel is the same way you feel when you're at your grandparents' house. I've never seen the shorts that came before this, but I love how they integrated them into the film, and I'm sure for a kid it makes Marcel feel like a real person. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On isn't available on any streaming services that I know of, but it is available to buy or rent.
You know who else suffers from dementia? You know who.
At number 2, we have Vortex, written and directed by Gaspar Noé. Vortex is one of the most difficult watches of this year, with everything being told in such a real and raw way that it's mentally draining to watch. The film follows an elderly couple as we see their day-to-day lives with health problems and dementia. This film has a very unique style to it as well, with the entire film being shot in split screen, which at first is disorienting, but as you get used to it makes the world feel real, with you watching a conversation on one side and then a character doing something else on the other side. This film was my introduction to Gaspar Noé, who has previously directed cinephile classics like Climax and Enter the Void, and this film really makes me want to get into his filmography. Between this, The Father, and Everything at the End of Time, my fear of dementia has all but worsened. Vortex is available to watch on Moody. Before I get into number 1, I want to mention some films that were close to being on the list but didn't make it but still deserve recognition. Petite Maman, written and directed by Celine Sciamma. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, directed by Guillermo del Toro and Mark Gustafson. Top Gun Maverick, directed by Joseph Kosinski. Elvis, directed by Baz Luhrmann. And Bodies, 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 directed by Helena Regine.
They didn't serve pints! Only buckets!
At number 1, we have The Banshees of Inisherin, written and directed by Martin McDonagh. Banshees is simultaneously the funniest and saddest film of the year. There are a lot of themes to gather from this film, whether that be friendship, depression, gossip, pride, and purpose. I think the main theme of this film is loneliness. We see our protagonist lose a friendship and is trying to rekindle it, and as all of this happens, his life crumbles around him. Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson are so great in this film, and the way they play despair in 2 totally different ways is just so genius. Also, the cinematography is absolutely gorgeous and encapsulates the beauty of the island very well. And the music sets the mood for the film, with it being melancholic and minimalistic. As I mentioned earlier, this film is very funny, which I was not expecting. The comedy really comes from the folksy charm of the people on the island and how they talk and process things. The Banshees of Inisherin is available to watch on HBO Max. Well, those are my favorite films of the year. I'm interested to hear what your favorite films of the year are down in the comments below. I'm also interested to hear what you've accomplished this year. Personally, I made a short film that I'm really proud of. I got to watch some cool movies and whatnot. And I've been able to meet a lot of great people this year, and I've just been putting myself out there. I kind of want to do this at the end of every year to just kind of see how I've grown as a person, and I'm interested to see how you've progressed, if you want to share at all. If not, it's whatever. I'm just gonna be angry at you. Yet again, thank you for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on postal notifications. Also, be sure to check out my worst of the year video and my most anticipated films of next year video, both of which should be available within a few days. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.